Welcome to Zodiak Exclusive. My name is John Paul Kayuni. In the program today, I'll be talking to the Charge d'Affaires for the United States of America Embassy in Malawi, Jonathan Fischer. Your Excellency, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much.
First things first, considering the time that we have, recently the government of Malawi and your government signed a health cooperation agreement. And it seems it has been shrouded in some secrecy. Why is it the case?
First of all, thank you for coming in and thank you for your interest in this really important agreement. This is a landmark moment in U.S.-Malawi relations, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk about it. The agreement that's just been concluded is a framework between our two governments. We had to establish the framework in order to move on to the implementation phase. During the implementation phase, we'll have the opportunity to pull in more stakeholders and hear from other people who have concerns about the health sector so that we can maximize the value of all the work we do together under the MOU. The United States, as you probably know, has long been Malawi's largest bilateral contributor of foreign assistance. And under this agreement, under which we hope to provide up to $792 million, we will continue to be the largest contributor.
But it appears the agreement is not in public. So there are questions out there. Why is it treated in secret?
So, as I mentioned, this first phase has been a discussion between the governments. If we don't have agreement on the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding between the governments, there's no basis to work from. So that was the first phase. It's not the only phase. We're right now launching the implementation phase, and that's going to be a broader process where we have a broader range of people discussing.
We understand it is because maybe some conditions in the agreement may not be palatable to the public.
This is a great agreement for both sides, for Malawi and the United States. For Malawi, this is going to improve health services across the board. There are specific provisions, specific targets to treat HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and improve treatment of those infectious diseases. But more broadly, it's going to strengthen health sector supply chains. It's going to strengthen health sector record keeping, etc., so that Malawians get better quality health care. For the United States, our administration launched what's called the America First Global Health Security Strategy. And our goals under this strategy essentially are twofold. With our longtime partners, we're working together to increase their ability to take ownership of their own assistance programs, or their own health programs, so that they are not dependent on donor funding forever. That's an important priority of the agreement, and this MOU will help give Malawi the tools to succeed. Another major goal is to help our longtime partners improve their capacity to detect and respond to infectious disease outbreaks. I think one thing all of us learned from the COVID pandemic is that a disease outbreak anywhere can quickly become a disease outbreak everywhere. So one of our goals is to make our partners able to identify and contain those outbreaks at the source. And that's going to make Malawians, Americans, and everybody else safer.
Talking about that, we understand one of the conditions in the agreement is that the US government is interested in the health data of Malawian citizens. Maybe that could be some of the issue that people think the US government is not coming out clear on this agreement.
Thank you for raising that, because I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding about this issue. Data sharing is not the goal of this agreement. Data sharing is a necessary tool to ensure the success of this agreement. The data sharing provisions in the agreement are very clear. Any sharing of data under this MOU will be done in keeping with Malawi's own Data Protection Act. That's explicit in the language of the agreement. It's also explicit in the language of the agreement that we are not to share individual patient data. Again, The point is not to share individual patient data. The point is that we need to share aggregated data in order to determine whether the work we're doing under the MOU is successful. If we can't see the data, we don't know the results. So we need to evaluate each phase of the programming, and then we need the data to plan the next phase. But that's the purpose of data sharing.
What safeguards have been put in place to try to protect the personal data, personal health data of Malawian citizens in this agreement vis-a-vis the interests of the US government?
Again, it's explicit in the agreement that we are not to share personally identified information, and there are provisions in the agreement to prevent that and to respond to that if something should happen by accident. But the point of this agreement is to share, again, aggregated data, groups of data that have no personally identified information associated with them and no personal medical information associated with them. This type of data has always been necessary in order to successfully implement foreign assistance programs. What we're doing is providing a very thoroughly articulated structure specifically, explicitly to make sure that we don't have problems with personal data leaking.
Now, your recent statement on this has tried to elaborate or clarify the matter. But the recent, or what has happened after the Trump administration pulled out USAID in Malawi, it has also exposed or shown how Malawi struggled, or how Malawi struggles with some health issues and non-communicable diseases, the HIV and AIDS issue. Why do you think this agreement has sparked that public interest?
Just to be clear, the United States isn't moving away from foreign assistance. We're doing foreign assistance differently. We have always, as I said, been the largest contributor of foreign assistance funding to Malawi, and that includes in the health sector. In the health sector alone, we've given over $2 billion to Malawi over the last 2 decades, and that's partly responsible for the enormous progress made in combating HIV/AIDS. What we're trying to do under this agreement is, well, really, there are a couple of facets of it. One is that we are trying to make more efficient use of each dollar that's spent in our foreign assistance so that the benefits to the Malawians are maximized. Right? We're trying to use each dollar more efficiently so that Malawians have the healthcare workers and the commodities, the medicines that they need to the maximum extent. But the other thing, and the reality is that the availability of foreign assistance money worldwide, not just from the United States, is in decline. Now, as a longtime strong partner of Malawi, we don't want Malawi to have to deal with that reality on its own. This agreement is designed in a phased way to help Malawi take on that responsibility gradually, so that as foreign assistance money availability declines, Malawi would be better prepared to take on all of those services themselves. So that's really, it's not just focused on immediate impact, it's focused on long-term sustainability and the self-reliance of the Malawian healthcare system.
Are you discussing the feedback on all this with the Malawi government?
We have been in active, constant communications with our partners in the Malawian government throughout this. Let me be very clear, this is a negotiated agreement. We have been in discussions for a long time at a technical level and at a very senior political level to make sure that both the United States and Malawi's interests are reflected in this agreement.
Why should the Malawi government or Malawians in general take the US government so seriously as a partner in all this, considering what has been happening, the pulling out of USAID, which, like I said, exposed quite a lot of struggles that Malawi is going through in the health sector.
So again, this agreement is the next phase in a long history of strong partnership. We have always been a strong partner for Malawi in the health sector and more broadly, but specific to the health sector, we've made enormous progress together on this. This is a different way of continuing that health partnership. So this, I think the signing of an agreement under which we're going to give up to $792 million is an extraordinarily strong symbol of the importance we place on our partnership with Malawi and on continuing to help Malawi strengthen its own healthcare system.
Mm-hmm. Maybe if you can just try to expound a little bit more. How is the implementation of this fund going to be, especially considering that previously there have been concerns raised about misuse of funds in Malawi, donor funding?
I understand. We're going to be working together with our partners in Malawi throughout the life of this agreement to make sure that the money that's spent under this agreement achieves the outcomes that we are determined to achieve. So within the agreement, there are very specific targets about the health outcomes that we're trying to achieve, but also the targets related to transition of responsibility to Malawi's own authority. And we're going to be monitoring that throughout the life of the agreement to make sure that we're on track to meet those. So it's going to be critical for the success of the agreement that both sides ensure that every dollar we spend under this agreement goes to the desired purpose. If we don't meet the goals of the agreement, then there is a process by which we reevaluate the agreement.
Just to get it clear, is this the funding, is it going direct to the government? Is it going to be channeled through government channels, or?
So there will be some of both under this program, but we are going to be providing some funding to the government. And the premise, or one of the premises underlying this reformulation of American foreign assistance, is that we need to improve the efficiency of our execution. And the more directly we can contribute to the work that procures critical commodities, critical medicines that Malawians need, that pays for the frontline health workers that treat Malawians when they're suffering from an infectious disease, etc. The more directly we can do that, the more each dollar contributes to making Malawi healthier.
Previously, not just the US government, but other development partners for Malawi
Absolutely.
stopped their direct funding to the government. They could use NGOs in the country. With this agreement now, does it signify a shift of that earlier position? Is the US government intending now to having some trust in the government administration in terms of utilization of funding is concerned?
So it's really essential that to make sure that the money we're spending under the agreement is achieving the goals of the agreement. It's really essential that we do that as directly as possible. But this is complicated work, very complicated work. And that's why we're going to be overseeing the execution of the work very, very closely to make sure that it's achieving its goals. And let me just say, because I know this is a sensitive subject, the data privacy issue, and I really appreciate the role of the press in enforcing accountability on that front. It's very, very important. But anybody who's concerned about the money under this MOU being used effectively should welcome the data sharing provisions in the agreement, honestly, because it's that data that we need in order to determine whether the work we're doing is successful. If we cannot tell if we're achieving the goals that we designed the MOU to achieve, it's much, much more difficult to make sure that the money is being spent the way it's supposed to be.
Now, talking about the data privacy of Malawian citizens, what is it that you would say to those people that are still in doubt, to say maybe this information might fall in the wrong hands of other people that might use it wrongly? What assurance are you giving to these people on the safety of the data itself?
Yeah, this agreement is actually, part of the agreement is to strengthen data systems. So the agreement is going to help ensure more broadly, even outside the scope of this MOU, that Malawian health data is more secure in 5 years than it is today. This agreement's going to help in that direction. As for the type of data sharing that's going to take place under this agreement, again, it's not personal data. It's aggregated data. We need data from population groups in order to identify the trends and outcomes of the programming we are doing. The agreement, again, specifically indicates that any data sharing has to be done consistent with Malawi's Data Protection Act. And it specifically states that we are not to be sharing personal information under here. So we've done everything we can in order to get the information we need to make the programming we do successful and to strengthen data integrity and data sovereignty in Malawi, while at the same time putting in safeguards to make sure that we don't share personal information.
Well, to a different issue, you've been in Malawi for some time now. How do you look at the political environment in Malawi, talking of civil and political rights of people in Malawi, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of the press. What general observation are you making on all this?
Well, it's true, I've been here 4.5 months now, and I have to say it's been a very, very busy 4.5 months. It's been an extremely interesting period to be in Malawi and to observe the new dynamics under the current administration. I will say I've been really impressed by and I'm not saying this just because you're a journalist, but I've been really impressed by the media environment here.
Okay.
And there's a wide range of views expressed, and people don't hesitate to question, to raise questions on important issues, which is extremely important. Not only allows people to ensure accountability, as I mentioned earlier, to hold officials accountable for the work they do on behalf of the Malawian people, but it also brings to the surface things that people are thinking that may not be well-founded. And it allows us an opportunity to discuss those and clarify so that we can move forward in building our partnership with a common understanding of what's actually happening. So I've been very, very impressed by that, and I look forward to continuing these conversations during the rest of my time here.
I asked that because there are, at the moment, there are concerns about these freedoms from many people in the country, that maybe freedom of expression is being stifled to some extent. Maybe freedom of assembly is not as it's supposed to be. Do you share these concerns?
So these are issues that we track all over the world. If we have concerns, specific concerns on this issue set, that's something we will continue to have conversations with, or conversations about with our partners. But certainly these are important issues, and they're principles that we as Americans, I think we as members of long-time peaceful democracies, that we hold very dear. So it's natural, I think, to both of us to have a close eye on these issues and make sure we're doing what we can to make sure these principles are respected.
The new administration in Malawi has just clocked 100 days in office, and quite a lot has happened. I would like to hear from you. What is it that you're picking? What are your picks in how the administration has started, the first 100 days? That it has been in administration? What is it that you're picking?
Well, I had the honor to be at President Mutharika's inauguration, which was it was a very exciting moment. And he set out a clear vision from the moment he gave his inaugural address about, in that case, specifically addressing the 5 issues he saw as the most immediate challenges for Malawi. And I think everybody knows what they are at this point. It has been exciting for us at the U.S. Embassy to be able to contribute very meaningfully to addressing a few of those in different ways. But just to depart from the main subject of our conversation for a little bit, Malawi was facing an impending food shortage, a real crisis. And the United States in the fall was able to contribute $16.5 million to the World Food Program, specifically for the Malawi response, to address food, one of the top priorities that President Mutharika had mentioned. the work we're doing under this health cooperation MOU is going to continue that partnership to address the main concerns that President Mutharika and his cabinet have identified. In this case, really helping with pharmaceutical availability, but also it's a major influx of foreign exchange into the economy, and that helps address issues across the board.
We'll talk about the hunger issue, but looking at the first 100 days of this administration, do you see that they are really walking the talk in terms of what they had indicated, that they are going to handle issues, how they are going to handle issues on the onset?
I think they've made a very energetic response to addressing the core issues that they set out to. It is not easy. Malawi is facing some very real economic challenges. Even though 100 days is a common benchmark that we look at to consider the early performance of any government, 100 days is not a long time to address major economic issues. And I think that the government has really devoted itself to this effort and is leaving no stone unturned to try to find answers to Malawi's challenges.
Let's talk about the recent visa ban the US is implementing. Citizens from different countries, including Malawi, are being restricted to enter the US. What is the rationale behind all this? Because some people think maybe it's just an attempt to ban or to stop people from coming to the US.
So it remains a priority to facilitate legitimate travel to the United States. The restrictions that have been put in place, these new policies, are based on data and on specific information. Unfortunately, there are pretty significant numbers of Malawian holders of American visas who have not respected the terms of those visas. In particular, many visa holders have dramatically overstayed how long they're allowed to stay in the United States on a non-immigrant visa. And we've had some concerns about document integrity issues, et cetera. We have an immigration working group under which we partner with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other stakeholders to address these concerns. And we've been very appreciative of the government's willingness to partner on this so that we can work to address these and continue to facilitate the engagements that are so important to our partnership.
Well, Your Excellency, thank you very much for accepting our request to be in our program today.
It's really a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's how we end the program today, Zodiac exclusive. And my guest today was the Charge d'Affaires for the US Embassy, Jonathan Fischer. Till we meet again next time, my name is John Paul Kayuni.